Welcome to our house, the House of Fi. At the House of Fi, we are all about achieving financial independence for families. Wherever you are in your financial independence journey, we want our house to be a place where you can learn and get inspired. If you are a parent on the journey to Fi, then come on in. We're glad that you're here. Here are your hosts, Wendy and Timika.
Hello, House of Fi family. I'm here today with my fabulous co-host, Timika. Hi, Timika.
Hi, Wendy.
Well, we're now at about the 2-month mark in our podcast, and we've had so many awesome guests, and we've covered a lot of territory, so much so that Timika and I were concerned that some of our listeners might be a bit overwhelmed and not sure where they fell into this discussion. Our objective for this show has always been to serve families that are on the road to financial independence, and all families, all shapes and sizes. Our mission is to create an environment of inclusion. We believe the FIRE journey is for everyone, and this is our way to reach back, link arms, and bring as many of our village on this journey with us. So with that in mind, we decided to hit pause and take a moment to go back and break things down. We are taking things down to the foundation. So what are the foundations of FI? At the core, there are simply 3 primary principles: save more, spend less, and increase income. Simple, right? Well, it's not complicated, but there is a lot more to it. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Timika, and we are going to tackle the first foundation: save more.
So let's talk about saving more. A high savings rate is a basic tenet of financial independence. The math shows that if you increase your savings rate, it will accelerate your path to retirement. So by increasing your savings rate, you decrease your retirement age. What does this all really mean? Most people are encouraged to save between 10 to 15% of their income. Why? Saving 15% of your income for about 40 to 45 years means that by the time you reach the age of 65 years old, you would have saved enough for retirement. But wait, what happens if you save 30%? Or 50%, or even 70% of your income? Saving the higher percentage rate means saving faster. And this will get you to an acceptable retirement amount, a dollar amount, in a fraction of the time. So the first step of FI is to increase your savings rate. There are a number of savings vehicles. Wendy, do you know some of the savings vehicles that people could use?
Well, I know that personally, some of those vehicles are retirement accounts that are available through our employers. So like a 401k, a 403b, a 457 plan. The military has their own plans. And all of these are pre-tax accounts. So they have a double benefit. Not only can you put retirement into them, but by doing so, the more you put into them, it also reduces your taxable income. So the double benefit is that it's not a dollar for dollar hit. So for instance, let's say I increase my savings in my retirement account by $1,000. That doesn't reduce my check by $1,000 because by taking $1,000 off the top, I'm taxed at a lower rate, and so maybe my paycheck is only reduced by $800. So there really is a double benefit, and sometimes people don't understand that and maybe are concerned that they can't afford to increase their savings rate. So it is a double benefit, and it's something to consider that when you increase your savings in a pre-tax account, it's not a dollar for dollar hit to your paycheck.
Yes, that is absolutely true. I remember I had a friend who thought she couldn't afford to put anything into her retirement account because she had graduated from law school. And you can start with just $40, just $25, and you can increase that amount at any time. I would say to start with something that you feel that you wouldn't miss, and usually going through your budget first, you can decide what that amount is, and then go in and make the change, and you can always decrease it or increase it later. There is a tax benefit like Wendy mentioned, but the other part about it is when you save in these accounts, you also save at a compound interest rate. That means that your money is going to grow differently than if you were just using a regular bank savings account, a CD account, or any type of straight line interest account. In our show notes for today, I will link to something called the Rule of 72. This rule looks at how your money will double over time in a compound interest account just by using two numbers, the number 72 and the interest rate that you think you'll get over time.
Timika, do you know on average, what the interest rate has been for, let's say, low-cost index mutual funds over the last, let's say, 50 years?
I believe the average is somewhere around 8%.
Right.
I've heard between 7 and 9%, whereas a bank account is going to give you 1% or less, right. Generally less. So this type of growth that you can find when you're in a mutual fund, index funds, retirement account funds, that type of growth is exponential growth. It is slow to start, but as it starts to kind of pick up and snowball, your money really does double multiple times over. And that's really what we have for saving more. Increase your savings slowly, do what you can, and keep revisiting it and keep trying to get your savings rate up to that 30 to 60% mark.
And there's lots of different ways that you can do that. And Tamika's absolutely right by taking small steps. First start with, let's just say $100. You think that, you can really only afford $100. So start with $100. So hey guys, I just wanted to take a quick minute and just let you know we have gone over, again, some topics that maybe you're not familiar with, some principles like the Rule of 72 and different types of retirement accounts out there. We just want to remind you that check the show notes after the show. We've got a few articles linked up there that will go over these principles in more detail for you. And then the next step is the spending less. And we're going to talk about that more in just a little bit. But so then once you've started, because I think the hardest part is starting, just start with something. The goal is to increase that. So there's a number of different ways you can do that. Maybe you get a raise. Maybe you change jobs and you get paid more, or you have children and it changes your deductions on your taxes so you see more in your net check. Well, put that into retirement as well. So just increase it as much as you can. The flip side of that then, of course, is the spending less. So by spending less, that is the main way that my husband and I discovered that we actually could afford putting into his retirement. We took a very good look at what we were spending our money on, and then also looking at what we could cut from our budget. So what I would suggest, and this is my suggestion to anybody that I'm working with getting their budget under control. The first step, I think, is to look at your bank statements, what you're spending your money on. Take your bank statements out, physically print them and look at them. Look at everything you're spending on and allocate where that money is going, because I would say 99% of the time people are really unaware of exactly how much they're spending in certain areas. And invariably, there are lots of places where spending can be cut. Food budget, eating out budget, entertainment budget. Maybe there are things recurring payments that you have forgotten about, that because they're on auto debit, you just forgot about. So then the next task is to then eliminate those expenses entirely or reduce them significantly. And then with any of the cash that becomes available from that then goes into savings as well. You're then going to also be paying off any consumer debt that you have. So consumer debt is anything like a credit card, vehicles, furniture, appliances. All of that is consumer debt. And you want to eliminate that with an intensity and as quickly as possible. There's two different methods you can do that with. Some go by the Dave Ramsey method of the debt snowball, which is simply taking debts in order of smallest to largest. And the reasoning behind that is to get the emotional satisfaction and motivation by hitting debts and crossing them off the list quickly. That gives you some momentum. I think Timika and I both have a history with Dave Ramsey, and that was at least in the beginning, was the method that we both subscribed to. And it's a sound method. However, there are others that ascribe to the avalanche method. And the avalanche method is by interest rate, because purely going by the math, it makes the most sense to pay off the items with the highest interest rate, because every month you're accruing interest. Once that interest is cut out, it then makes more money available to then pay. So those are the two methods. And I don't think either one is wrong or right. It really just depends on what you feel most comfortable with. Is there anything that you would add to the suggestions for paying off debt, Timika?
Like you said, I used the Dave Ramsey method, and that really worked for me. It took me a couple of months to get a good handle on where all of the money was going, because I wouldn't always see some of the, you might catch some of the recurring expenses, but then something else would come up that you don't see every month. But once you get a good handle on where the money is going, it becomes much easier to pull the cord on certain things. I was able to, when we were really, really into it, cut the cable, we cut everything. We cut the budget for food. We weren't going out and ordering pizzas. We would make them at home. There were just so many little things that we did. And I told the kids no quite a bit. No, when we were going into the store, I would let them know that we're not getting anything extra from Target, and no toys, nothing like that, and that we were paying off debt at the time. But once that was paid off, that money that we knew we were paying every month could then be put towards the saving more category. And it's amazing how much more you can save and how you can slowly creep up to maxing some of your accounts, some of your retirement accounts, by paying off some of this debt that you don't usually aggregate together on a monthly basis before being intentional about it.
You're so right. I think that one of the things that has really helped keep both Curtis and I very motivated on our debt payoff portion of this FI journey is that I have kept track of every single thing that we've been able to either eliminate or reduce. And we're talking about thousands of dollars. Not just a hundred or two. We're talking about thousands of dollars. And a lot of it was $100 here, $100 there, $50 here, $20 there. We were out of control, on our spending. And so it's really just examining everything and finding the cuts where you can. And you're correct. There's things like cable. We just recently re-examined our cable again. We had taken off all of the premium channels and cut our bill by about $100, but we wanted to keep the local channels for football. My husband's a football coach and that's his passion. And so we wanted to keep the local channels for football. Then the cable company increased our bill again, and I was paying $160 for cable, just local channels and internet, which I thought was outrageous, and I just had enough, and we weren't going to do that again. So we went down there, we turned in all of our little boxes, and again, that resulted in another $80 savings a month just to do that. So $80 plus another 80 plus another 80, that's $240. That's a lot of money if you take a look at it over a whole year. So your cable, your cell phones, can you get a different cell phone plan? Can you house hack? Do you have a room in your house that maybe you could put a roommate in? Do you need to be in your house, or can you rent your house out to earn money? Reducing housing costs. Can you downsize to reduce your monthly housing expenses? Geo-arbitrage. Geo-arbitrage is another way. Are you simply living in an area that maybe is a high cost of living area and you don't necessarily need to be? Are you able to work remotely? Do you need to be in the city that you're in? Are you able to work in another city where the pay is
comparable but not
comparable, right? But you're paying less. Especially, do you have children? And maybe that factors into the decision, of course, but there's lots of different ways that if you really are willing to sit down and look at it, you can reduce your spending. Travel hacking, and we've got several episodes where our guests have either talked about travel hacking or will be talking about travel hacking. Cody was recently on the show and talked about his travel hacking, and then in an upcoming episode, we're going to be speaking with Amon and Christina. Hey guys, it's me again. So in the show notes, we're going to be listing several different links and resources to help you with debt payoff and other strategies. Also, just wanted to take this opportunity to let you know that we're going to be opening up a 4-week Facebook challenge, and what the purpose of that will be is for 4 weeks we will coach you and guide you to save more and spend less and get you to a goal. And we're going to start taking pre-registration for that. So if you are interested in joining us for that, it is free. Just go on over to our Facebook House of Fi page and like it, and then also send us a private message and we'll get you on the pre-registration list for that. Okay, so be sure to check the show notes after the show as well for links to that, as well as some of the other previous shows and future shows that pertain to the topics that we've discussed today.
Yeah, it seems like, there's a lot to consider and a lot to think about, but it comes about organically once you get started. And you'll be a couple of months or even 6 months to a year at one bar, and then you'll get the motivation to move to the next bar. So these are not things that you have to implement all at once. Don't feel overwhelmed by all of the things that we're talking about, but they are what you're striving towards. You're striving towards optimizing some of these things, multiple components, so that it aggregates to really, really big changes. So the final area is increasing your income. Increasing your income is just what it sounds like. It's bringing in more money on a monthly basis or in however way you can. And there are many, many ways to do it. It just is a matter of you thinking it through and deciding if this is something that you can give your time to figure out how you want to bring in more money. Some of the short-term ways of bringing in more money, quick, easier ways to bring in more money would be to find a second W-2 or contracting job. This could be temporary work, seasonal work, part-time or full-time. I actually do know people who have 2 full-time jobs, not something that I could do, but something that people do. You could have a yard sale, a garage sale. You could begin selling a service of some sort, baking cakes during the holiday season, or we had Kristen Ivy on in an episode recently where she became a KonMari consultant and began serving customers and selling her service on the side. That side income was used to help her pay off debt and move her closer to her FI goals. And we have an episode coming up with Erica Young, who, while or immediately after paying off her debt with her husband, began coaching as a financial coach, help others reach the same goals, and that income helped her along with her 5 goals as well. So there are both short and long-term ways to increase your income. Some ideas of long-term income increases could be developing a product to sell, finding a good piece of real estate to rent out, which could give you a monthly income stream, finding ways to increase your job income, your salary. So that could be one thing that I did, which was completing educational requirements, and that bumps you up the salary pay grade, or getting certifications, or even switching jobs. Switching jobs years ago, had a coworker who said that the only way she gets huge raises is when she switches jobs, and that's part of her strategy. She'll work somewhere, get 3 to 5 years, and she'll switch. And sometimes less than 3 to 5 years, she'll switch and get a big raise. And then it becomes your new previous salary. Yeah, there are multiple ways to do this. And one way that I did it was I did open a side business, a brick and mortar business, the Lice Clinic in Medford, LCA Medford. And I used that to increase my side income, which for me, I knew the bar was very low. We had optimized our savings. We'd optimized our spending. And so at that point, even $500 a month is huge. You can do so much. You can max your Roth out, or you could pay for all of your kids' activities for the year, or your food budget. So I knew that, I didn't need too much income on the side, but that was one long-term way that I tried to increase my income on the side. What have you done, Wendy? Anything else that you can think of?
Not anything else, but there were 2 points that really were the things that we did. So 2 things. My husband is a teacher, and about 4 or 5 years ago, we were living in Arizona, where teachers, sadly, are not paid very well at all. And not just that, the pay was one of the lowest in the nation, but also the cost of health benefits terrible. It's ridiculous. And so we made the decision to come to California, and San Diego, California in particular. People think, oh my gosh, how could you afford to live in San Diego? Well, thankfully, the incomes for teachers here in San Diego, it was enough for our family to more than cover the difference in the high cost of living. But not only that, we were, instead of paying $800 a month for family health insurance, for our portion of health insurance, like we were in Arizona, we were now only paying $50 a month, which that's huge. And that's half of a salary for some people. So changing jobs was a big benefit for us to helping our debt payoff strategy. And then additionally, Kurt has several times taken classes to get higher on his pay scale so that he's getting paid the most amount of money combined with his years of experience as a teacher. And then I know that in our local meetup, our San Diego meetup, there have been several people that have just mentioned that one of the best ways that they have found to increase their income is to change jobs every 3 years. And that with every single change in position or job, they have had an increase, a significant increase. We're talking about like $10,000. It's huge. So it's really something to consider, weighing the benefit of staying in a place where maybe, it's a great place to work, but at the same time, people get caught and maybe they don't really, value your worth. And so it maybe would be time to evaluate that and see if you could make more money at a similar company in a similar position. And then the other thing is that we're really good about selling stuff. I love selling stuff. I love every, twice a year going through our house and just clearing out the clutter and having a garage sale. I know not every.
So how do you have these garage sales? Because we had one and it was okay. It wasn't the best.
I'll tell you what, here in Southern California, I don't make as nearly as much as I would make in Arizona. And I think that's because we're so close to the border. But I have found that certain things sell a lot more than others. So the bigger things like furniture, I can usually sell, and I can usually get at least a few $100s with furniture, just miscellaneous, maybe a desk I don't use anymore, or a chair that I don't use anymore, an old sofa. So furniture is a good one. And then, believe it or not, clothing that you're pricing at 50 cents to $1 a piece. But if we're talking about, 100 articles of clothing, that adds up significantly. So I can generally net at any garage sale, I can net about $300. And then in addition to garage sales, I'm selling things, or I'm listing like the bigger ticket items on OfferUp, or Facebook Marketplace is a really good place to list things now. That seems to be even a little bit more popular than OfferUp. I can generally get better prices for certain things on those, like old phones, other electronic sort of things, headphones, stuff like that. And so then I take that money and I put it towards debt, or I put it into savings.
Yes, that is the last component of this. If you increase your income or find income, or when you get your income back at tax time in the form of a refund, make sure that before you spend it, you set a plan for it. For me, whenever I'd get another income raise, if I finish, for us, we have to finish 15 credits of graduate level education and we can get a raise. The raise is usually about $1,300, $1,500, I'm not quite sure. And when I put the paperwork in, it usually takes them a few pay periods for it to come through, but I already increase my retirement savings in that amount. So I divide that $1,500 by 26, and I increase my retirement savings by that amount.
That's a great idea.
I never see the difference in my check.
That's
The check stays exactly the same. So, well, actually it does change, but then I also increase my withholdings to match it, and that keeps it level. So make sure that you make a plan for that money, whether it's going into a savings account so that you can buy something later, like a rental property, or put it away for something that you need, a repair or something like that. Make a plan and set it before you spend it.
Great tips. are just about out of time. We know that this was maybe a little bit of a shorter episode than most, but we covered a lot of territory in a short amount of time. And even though this episode is meant to go back and talk about the foundations and talk about the more detail, I know that even still, there's so much more that we could go over on every single one of those topics. And that's the purpose of our episodes. And so if there is ever a topic that you feel that maybe we've glossed over or you don't understand or you want to hear more about, let us know. Either send us a message on Facebook or you can also send us a comment via our website. We want to know. We want to know what you want to know more about. We want to know how we can help you better. Areas that you're confused about. We just want to help you guys. That's the overall objective of this show. So please let us know. Let us know how we're doing. And always, always, if you like what we're putting out, please send us a message, but more importantly, rate and review on iTunes. Give us a review, rate our show, let us know how we're doing. We would really, really appreciate that.
And don't forget to share.
That's right. Share. All right, everybody. Well, this brings this episode to a close, and we will see you again next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Well, House of Five family, that brings this episode to a close. We appreciate you listening. And if you've enjoyed the show, please leave us a review on iTunes. To show our appreciation, for every 5 reviews we receive, we will reward that listener with one of our favorite reads. And you can find out what that is in our show notes. Don't forget to also send us an email with your review screen name so that we can track who has left a review. Our hope for this show is that we have both inspired you and provided you with practical tools to aid you in your journey to financial independence. We welcome your feedback, and you can do that in one of 3 ways. You can message us on our website, houseoffi.com, through the contact page. You can also leave a voice message there. The final way is that you can send us an email at info@houseoffi.com. We read every message. Once again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here next week.